Hi, Tech Rabbit here. So there's been a bit of changes since the last video I made regarding the servers, because now I've semi-retired the Generation 8 server. So what I did is I actually went and got another Generation 9 server. And it's a bit faster than the original Generation 9. So now I actually do have, like I announced in the previous videos, upgrading to 580 Generation 9, so that's actually more of the truth. I actually do have two Generation 9. And then also I spent a bit of time reading the documentation of what is the actual minimum configuration to be able to, or the practical configurations to run these, set up these servers and run them. So anyway, let's I thought we'd do a little bit of a deep dive into both fans and power supply setup, and so let's do the fans first. So in each server, and it doesn't matter if it's a Generation 8 or a Generation 9, it's the same configuration, but you have 4 fan slots, and they're hot swappable. So you can just grab here and pull it out, and then you have a fan module. And when it comes to redundancy, then each of these modules, and we'll have a little bit of a closer look at it later, is that it has actually 2 fans in this module. So if one of them stops turning, then it will start the other one. And what you should be looking for is the general cleanliness. I mean, is there a lot of dust on the fans? How dusty does this location for the fan is? And if it really feels like it's way too dusty, then it's advisable to clean it up. I'm actually amazed at these servers that I have been getting from the same seller, that how clean they are. I mean, there's actually extremely little evidence of any dust buildup. It was on this one here, because that actually, when it came, it's obviously been running without any drives. So it had drive caps on both the top and the bottom, and it seemed to have accumulated some dust collection around on the fan around here. But the fans themselves were not that dirty. Neither was the inside. So but anyway, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just even if it doesn't look dusty, I'm just going to casually wipe the outside of this and then the inside surfaces of these locations. I don't think I'm going to be actually. I don't think I have the need to clean the fans. But anyway, as I said, we'll have a closer look at what the actual fan looks like. So anyway, here's the fan we were looking at. And this is the front side with the easy removal clips, and then here we have the underside view. So then it has this is the connector that connects it to the computer, and then you have actually 2 fans that are one after the other, and then it has some vibration absorbing pins here to actually keep this assembly together. And that's the top view. And then I was commenting on the fact that when I got the new one, that it was like quite dirty, as you can see here. But the actual fan part is okay, so that's not dirty. So the new one has a HP Flexilum module for the HP framework networking. So it didn't have any disks. It had no evidence that it ever had any physical disks on it, because it had all the holes were plugged up. So my interpretation is that it was a network booted basically calculation unit. So maybe it had, and I think it had cards in it, because one one of the slot holders, the one that guides the card into place, was a little bit twisted. So I think they had some, yeah, probably some graphics cards or something in it. And this is probably caused by the fact that since it didn't have any drives installed, then the air pressure was actually getting too high in the case, and then it was not pushing the air through back through the top, the sides of the fans. But anyway, what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm just going to take a cloth and just, you know, give these a general cleanup, and the slot itself also, and I'll do that with the other fans and slots, even if it's not technically speaking required. But anyway, to make this video a bit interesting, I've actually disassembled one of these. So we can have a look at that. So the first thing you can take off is the front panel, and that, of course, it's just a few screws on the side. So say that one there, and then there's that one there, and then that one there, and then you could actually just pull this off, and that gives you access to the front fan. And the next thing you can take off is the side panel assembly, and then you have to actually release the vibration dampening studs in those 4 places, and then you end up with what I call the main assembly. So you have access now to both the fans, and you have the cabling part of it, and now it's actually very easy to clean it, seriously. And the thing is, it is possible to swap out one of these fans, because I'm just trying to gather the parts. Kind of has this kind of plastic pin thing, so this is here is inserted first, and then you put this pin in it to hold it in place. And you can actually, I've actually did an experiment and I took one out. It doesn't seem to break them, so that's the good thing. So it's possible to put it back together again. Well, let's say the one on the fans was broken. Well, actually, it's probably not worth trying to fix it. But let's say, argue if it was really dirty and you wanted to get into, because you see this the back fan, it's it's the grid side pointing back, and then it's sealed. So if you had a case where you had really dirty fins, then you might want to actually crack this, and then to be able to get access to clean it up properly. The other alternative, of course, is one goes online and just buys a new one, a bunch of. But yeah, so I just thought it might be of interest to show that you can actually disassemble the fan assembly, get access to the fans, and with a high probability of success put it back together again. So it will still work. In some cases in computing equipment, when you take it apart, you can never get it back together again. But there's nothing. As you see, there's nothing glued. It's all just just a bunch of screws and then the plastic pins. So that's good. So the next thing we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail is power supplies, and yes, this is the G8 server, but you can use the same power supplies in the G9. They're interchangeable, and you have the two most common options is the 1200 watt power supply and the 1500, and they're hot swappable, so you can swap them out with the machine running, and then it has a certain capability to configure redundancy. So I'm just going to have a little look into that and discuss what it looks like. So here's a close-up of both power supplies. As you can see, the 1500 watt just extended the casing a bit and put another fan on. Otherwise they're pretty much identical. I won't be opening these because I don't think that one should mess with the power supplies. If they work, then okay, and when they don't, then I recommend just swapping them out and not trying to do any more. As I said, hot plug and it support both of these. They support redundant configurations. Now you do need on the DL580 you need a minimum of two power supplies to be able to run the system. And you can't mix these, so you can't put like two 1500 watt ones and two 1200 watt ones. It's physically not prevented, but basically they said in the, I mean, basically reading between the lines in the manual, that then you're allowed just to run into all kinds of weird problems. But so they don't recommend. I don't actually know if it's software blocked. So if you actually do that, if you put two 1500 ones and two 1200 ones or other combinations, then will it actually stop the server from working or something? I'm not sure about that. The interesting thing is that the 1500 watt one, this is interesting for the US more people, that this only runs on like high line voltage, what you would call that in the US, which is 200 to 240 volts AC. Now in Europe it doesn't matter, we have 220. And and then the 1200 watt one runs on both 100 to 120 and then 200 to 240. That's that one. So let's have a little bit of look at the redundancy picture here. Now it's if you want to define the redundancy mode, then you need to go into the BIOS to do it. So, and then there are 4 different options you can choose for. If you only have 2 power supplies, then you can configure 1+1 redundancy. So it means that if the other one fails, then they take over the other. And of course, this limits your power consumption, because what they also is that when you configure the server, you need to actually take into account, like in a power calculation, what power supply combinations you need, and then pair it with the redundancy model. So the most common is that you will have 2 and 2, either 1200 watt ones or 1500, and that depends on the understanding of the calculation of what the servers, what is the configuration of the server, how much, are all disks populated, what processors it has, how much memory do you have installed and what type of memory it is. And then also if you have a whole bunch of PCI slot based graphics cards or other calculation or high performance networking NICs or something, then you actually have to take that into account. So they did have a power calculator, but the URL is offline, so it's no longer accessible. So what I was saying, so you can say 2 plus 2, so that up to 2 power supplies can fail, and then you can have a 3 plus 1. So if you can say that, okay, it'll work as long as one only fails, and then you can say also that you can say no, all 4 power supplies are in use. This is we've fully kitted out this server to the absolute max, and we've calculated that there isn't any power margin, so there is no possibility for power supply redundancy. So then you can say 4 plus 0. So that means you have no redundancy. The default configuration, according to the documentation, the default configuration is 2 plus 2, which kind of makes sense to me also. So, not super easy filming, it's not enough space. But on the G9s I'm going to have 4, and on the high performance on G9 I'm going to have the 1500 watt ones, and then it's 1200 watt ones. And then on the G8 then I'm just going to have these 2. Haven't actually decided what I'm going to use this for. At least it will be operational with 2 power supplies. So I've also added a power strip, and as you see it needs lots of places, and this has some USB output also. And I've already started building the network side of things, but more on that in a separate video. So anyway, that was hopefully useful. When it comes to the fans, I'm going to have all 4 fans. I actually looked at the airflow design, and if one has active processor in line with the fan, then basically if you take that fan completely out, there's no way that it'll. And there might be even a software lock to prevent it from the system to start for redundancy purposes. Then I would accept that it would accept that 1 total fan will be gone. So that's not actually described in the documentation, like how it kind of doesn't give you the exact black and white as to when it's going to shut the system. But it will probably be mostly temperature sensor driven and not based on, so even if all the fans die and the temperatures stay sane, then it probably won't shut it down. But I mean, I'm going to put in all 4 fans. And then, as you saw now, I populated the power supply, so on the main units, or I call the G9s the main units, they're going to have all 4. I actually have a temperature-wise a little bit of a rugged situation, so I think it's good to actually have the 2+2 redundancy capability. When it comes to power consumption, I'm in Europe, so we have 220 volts, and then basically the house fusing for on each leg of the house wiring, then you have a maximum current of, because this is a little bit older house, and you have 10 amps. In newer houses you would have 16 amps, but I have 10. So I have basically on the circuit going to where I have the servers, then it's going to be 2200 watts, which I have as the top max. One can say probably 2.5 kilowatts. I would say I could get away with. So basically the the power supplies, I mean, 2,400 watts or 3,000 watts. So yeah. But I mean, I'm going to with the HomeKit stuff that I'm going to do. I doubt that I'm going to come up to the max, because I haven't got the in both of these machines I don't have the fastest processors. And then I'm probably never going to put the full memory configuration, because that would be just insane of course, if memory drops to like you pay like I don't know, $10 per 32 gig module, then just go nuts and put as much as you can. But under the current situation, I'll probably put in a rational amount of memory. And then when it comes to PCI cards, I'll be coming back on that subject as to what I intend to do with that in a little bit later video. But anyway, hope you found this useful, and build will continue. And if you're interested, join in the next one. See you later. So anyway, that's the fan, the actual slot cleaned out, and the casing of the fan, and I've checked the fans. And as I said, this equipment, when it came to me, I mean, it wasn't spotless, but I mean, I've seen much worse. I think it's usable as it is. I don't know if it was running in a really nice clean data center environment, or they actually did spend time cleaning it, which I think is unlikely. And then I still have that fan too. I'm gonna put the the demonstration fan together again, get it into its place in the G8. That's not a high priority right now.